Hi guys, today we are going to talk about integers. So we talked about them a bit last week. Last week we talked more about the number lines, placing them on number line, ordering integers from least to greatest, absolute value, knowing greater than or less than. And that's going to bring us into this week's lesson, which is addition and subtraction of integers. So just like our notes last week, we are going to start with our vocabulary. So an integer. We're going to write the definition as I type it in. I want you to write it on your note paper. So we talked about integers a lot last week. Integers are any positive or negative whole number and zero. So any positive, negative, or negative whole number and zero. So if we think about whole numbers, we have to know what that means. So a whole number is just our counting numbers. So over here, we're going to do an example. So what is an example of an integer? So this might not be examples you have, but some numbers you can have is -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And as you can see, there's dots at the beginning of this and dots at the end of it, which means any negative number, any positive number, they're all integers, including 0. All right, so what is a positive integer? A positive integer is an integer greater than 0. So any number that's bigger than 0 is obviously going to be a positive integer. So go ahead, I'm going to give you some time to write this down. All right, some key words that we see that would signify that we need to talk about, that we're going to be talking about positive integer. What do you think some key words that positive integers could be? So anything that means it's going up. So some examples are above. Let me unbolt this. Above, goes up, deposit, more than. Any of those are words that when we see them, we know we are going to have a positive number. So if it says I was 5 feet above sea level, it's going to be a positive number. Or I deposited $50 into the bank, it's going to be a positive number. So anytime I see these words, and the list goes on and on, so I'm going to give you some time to stop and write these notes in. Make sure you include the key words. All right, some examples of positive integers. I want you to come up with some on your own. So one example might be 573, or 2, or maybe 45. Any number that is greater than 0 is considered a positive integer. All right, so we have positive integers. Now, what about negative integers? What are negative integers? So positive are greater than 0. What do you think negative integers are? So a negative integer is integers less than 0. So integers are numbers less than 0. So what are some key words when we are solving our word problems? What are some words that we can see that are going to tell us that these numbers are going to be negative? So basically it's going to be the opposite of what's above. So what's the opposite of above? Below. Below would indicate a negative integer. What's the difference or the opposite of deposit? If you don't deposit money into the bank, you are withdrawing money. A loss, to drop. All of those are example keywords of negative integers. So if I said I withdrew $25 from the bank, that means it's going to be negative 25. I took out 25. Or if I'm 5 feet below sea level, that's going to be -5 because I'm below sea level. Or if my score dropped 10 points, it's going to be a -10 because I went down 10. So go ahead and write some examples of negative integers. You could have a whole bunch of options. -5 is a negative integer. -1,389 is a negative integer. -37. Anything that's less than 0 is a negative integer. All right, our last vocabulary word is zero pair. So a zero pair is pairs of positive and negative integers that have a sum equal to 0. I'm going to go ahead and pause and let you write that down. All right, so a zero pair are pairs of positive and negative integers that have a sum equal to 0. So basically another word for this is the opposites, your zero pairs. So an example of this would be 1 and -1. 2 and -2 are opposites. They have the same distance from 0. All right, you write your own example. You could have 10 and -10. As long as they're opposite numbers, the same number, but one's negative and one's positive, then it's a zero pair. All right, so that is our vocab words. Our keywords. It's going to be super important to help us understand this lesson. Part B is write an integer for each situation. So this is when those keywords are going to come into effect and we're going to need them. So we have a deposit of $16. You could do one of two things. You can look up at our examples. Deposit is up here and our positive integers. So we know that's going to be a positive. Or you can think of, what am I doing when I deposit money? If I'm depositing money, I'm putting money into my account. So I'm getting more. If I'm getting more money, then it's just going to be a positive $16. So deposit is positive. So positive 16. All right, number 2, a loss of 11 yards. If I'm playing football and I lose yards, is that going to be positive or negative? So again, we can look up here and find our positive and negative integer keywords, find that loss means negative loss. Or you can think of it, if I'm losing something, I'm going back. If I go back, that's negative. So negative 11. All right, the next one, 6 degrees below 0. How are we going to write 6 degrees below 0? So 6 degrees below 0, we look up in our key terms, below, right here, is negative. So it's going to be a negative 6 degrees. If it's below 0, it's negative. All right, number 4. A profit of $9. So again, this one is not in our terms up top. We don't have profit in our keywords. That's okay. We can still think about it and use our brains and know that profit, if I'm profiting, and am I gaining money or am I losing money? So if I'm profiting, I am gaining money. And another word for gain would be positive. So this is just going to be a profit of $9 is going to be a positive $9. All right, number 5, a bank withdrawal of $50. We can come up here. This one is in our keyword terms. Withdraw is right here in our negative, withdraw. Or we can think about it, if I'm withdrawing money from the bank, I'm taking money out. So am I gaining money or am I losing money? Obviously, I'm taking it out, I'm losing. So that's going to be a negative $50. I'm withdrawing negative. All right, and number 6, 53 degrees below 0. Again, below 0 is our big key word here. Below 0 would be negative 53 degrees. All right, so hopefully all of that makes sense to you. You just have to really think about these and know what the words deposit mean, profit, withdrawal, to know if they're positives or negatives. Our next section, we're going to talk about adding integers. So the rule for adding integers is to add integers with the same sign, add their absolute values. Well, we talked about absolute values last week, and absolute values are the distance a number is from 0. So if the sum is positive, both of your integers are going to be positive. If the sum is negative, then both of your integers, if both are going to be negative. Both your integers are negative, your sum is negative. If both your integers are positive, then your sum is positive. So another way to think about this, same sign, keep the sign and add. Okay, I'm going to repeat it again. Same sign, keep the sign and add. Super, super important because a lot of kids forget this as they're doing it. Same sign, keep the sign and add. So let's look at number 1 here. Negative 5 plus negative 5. Same sign, so we're going to keep that sign, and then we're just going to add. 5 plus 5 is 10. So negative 5 plus negative 5 is negative 10. We kept our sign, and then we added. All right, number 2. Negative 10 plus negative 4. Same sign. So what do? We keep our sign, which is what? Negative. So negative 10, we keep our sign and add. 10 plus 4 is 14. So negative 10 plus negative 4 is negative 14. All right, number 3. Same sign, keep your sign and add. Negative 14 plus negative 16. We're going to keep our sign, negative, and then we're going to add 14 plus 16. 14 plus 16 is 30. So negative 30. All right, next one, we have negative 3 plus negative 2. Same sign, so we keep our sign, negative, and add. I'm going to let you do this one on your own. Negative 3 plus negative 2. Hopefully you came up with the answer, negative 5. Number 5, negative 3 plus negative 12. Now have you do this one on your own. Negative 3 plus negative 12, same sign, keep your sign, and add. 3 plus 12 is 15. So negative 3 plus negative 12 is negative 15. All right, number 6. I'm going to have you do this one on your own as well. So negative 24 plus negative 8, 2 negative signs, we keep our sign and add. And 24 plus 8 is 32. So negative 24 plus negative 8 is negative 32. So those are pretty simple. When you have the same sign, keep your sign and add. Now we're going to go to a different rule. To add integers with different signs, you subtract their absolute values. So you subtract, and then the sum is positive if this positive integer's absolute value is greater. The sum is negative if the negative integer's absolute value is greater. So basically what that means is you different signs, you subtract, and then you find out what number is bigger. So let's look at number 1. 5 plus negative 3. Different signs, so we're going to subtract. So what is 5 minus 3? 5 minus 3 is 2. And then what's bigger, 5 or 3? And we say, well, 5 is bigger. And is 5 positive or negative? Our 5 is positive. So our answer is going to be positive 2. Number 2, negative 3 plus 2. So we have different signs. One's a negative and one's a positive. 2 different signs. So we're going to subtract. So 3 minus 2 is 1. And then we have to say, is 3 bigger or 2 bigger? 3 is bigger. And if we look at the number 3, it has a negative sign with it. So our answer is going to be negative. So negative 3 plus 2 is a negative 1. Since 3 is bigger and 3 has a negative, we keep our negative sign. We subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So different signs, subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. All right, number 3, 6 plus negative 7. Different signs, so we're going to subtract. 7 minus 6, which is 1. And then we find what is the, my computer froze. What is the absolute value, or what is the number with the biggest, what is the biggest number? The biggest number is 7, and is 7 positive or negative? 7 is negative, so we're going to put negative. All right, it says number 2 again, but I guess it's really number 4. Forgot the equal sign. We're going to put that in there. And I want you to try this one on your own. Okay, hopefully you got this one right. We have 2 different signs, so we subtract. 19 minus 15 is 4. And then we say, when we look at our numbers, we have negative 15 and 19. What's bigger? 19. And 19 is positive. So our answer is just positive 4. All right, next problem. We have 7 plus negative 7. Different signs. I want you to try this one on your own as well. So different signs, we subtract. So 7 minus 7 is 0. And then there's nothing else we do on that one because 7 minus 7 is 0. And there's no such thing as a negative 0. There's only 0. All right, last one. Try this one on your own as well. Remember, we have negative signs. We have opposite signs. So we're going to subtract. And then what do you do after that? So go ahead and solve this one on your own. So we're going to subtract. Different signs, we subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So 8, negative 8 plus 3. So what's 8 minus 3? 5. And then we look, what's bigger, 3 or 8? Well, 8's bigger, and 8 has a negative sign, so we keep that sign. So our answer is negative 5. Okay, after this, you are going to do a worksheet that works on adding integers. So it's going to be what we just practiced up here is going to be what your worksheet is. Again, as a refresher, when you add integers with the same sign, you keep the sign and add. Same sign, keep the sign and add. When you have different signs, you subtract. Okay, sorry about that. I got a phone call. So as I was saying, same sign, keep the sign, and add. Different sign, subtract, and keep the sign of the bigger number. So what do you do when you have the same sign. Good. Hopefully you got it right. Same sign, keep the sign, and add. What do you do when you have different signs? Different signs, subtract, and keep the sign of the bigger number. All right, so we're done with this. Go ahead and work on that worksheet. And if you finish the worksheet, there is an IXL for you to do. See you later.